Yes, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. It's myself and Lee Judges bringing to you another Arsenal show. There is a lot to talk about, believe it or not. It has been the international break, and normally it is an interlull, and we don't really know what to talk about. We're scratching our heads thinking, what can we do content-wise? But actually, there's quite a lot to talk about as far as Arsenal are concerned, and also internationally, which we will start with, and we'll go on to Arsenal. But first of all, Lee, how are you, bruv?
Yeah, all good. I can't complain. Enjoying the little bit of a break. I know it sounds silly, but I know it's boring, the international break, but you do get a few days off here and there. So I've enjoyed that. But yeah, now it all begins, doesn't it? Again, come Saturday with the Arsenal, and the anticipation of Mikel's press conference. That's going to be the key for me. Whatever happens on Friday, I think it is. So, yeah, update on players, see what's going on, and then go from there. So, but all in all good.
Yeah, likewise, man. International break's never good for me, man. I can't lie. I mean, I had Kenny on last night saying he likes it. He thinks it's good. And he likes the Nations League. I mean, he's probably the only one that I have.
It's a way controversial, is Kenny.
He is, isn't he? I'm sure he does it on purpose, you know.
Yeah, I think he does.
He must do, you know. I think it's good. You get the international break. It's important that we get these games under our belt. We want to win the tournaments, and I'm sure he's taking a piss half the time. But anyway, I personally don't like it. However, it looks like it's coming to a close. And one thing that has been sorted, announced today is, of course, the appointment of Thomas Tuchel as the New England manager, mate. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this one, because for me, there's a lot of anger and hatred in some of the English fan base. I don't quite understand it. I see some of the media doing their best to stir the pot as well. A dark day for England was one of the headlines I saw. I think this is a brilliant appointment. I mean, look, if you're looking at CVs, you're looking at proven managers. Look at the last few that we've had: Steve McLaren, Roy Hodgson, Sam Allardyce, Gareth Southgate, Lee Carsley. I'm taking Thomas Tuchel over any of them any day of the week. So we had probably some of our most successful period under Southgate, but previously to that, I'd say it was under Sven when he was a foreign manager. So I don't think they have to be English. I'm not getting there behind. Look, if you don't think the best man for the job is out there that's currently English, you've got to look elsewhere, bruv. And I think Thomas Tuchel is better than Potter, is better than Howe, is better than Gary O'Neill, and is better than the other managers that we've had that are English in the last decade. So personally, I'm happy. I think it's a good appointment. But where you stand on this one, Judges?
Yeah, listen, I get what you're saying, and I agree with everything you said there. But for me, I'm in the camp that he should be English. You know what I mean? Like, I think, and that goes all round. I think, like, if it's Scotland, it should be a Scotland manager. If it's Ireland, Irish manager. Spain, Spanish manager. Italy manager. So that's how I feel about that. But if you're not going to go down that route, then, you know, Thomas Tuchel's probably like a very, very good choice. And to be fair, one that I have to say, even though he's been Chelsea manager, I quite like him. You know, I've got nothing against him as a manager, and I think he'd do very, very good. So from a footballing point of view, I think it's a good appointment. But I just think that we should have an English manager or coach. Now, when you look at it, and this is where I agree with you, that there's not much out there, and the ones that are out there are tied up. The one you'd probably think is Graham Potter's the only one that's not, that you'd think. But if you was, how I would say this, and it is, I think it's a fair point. If Arsenal were after a new manager tomorrow, and you had Potter and Thomas Tuchel, so what? From my way of thinking, I'm going, oh, well, he's got to be English then, is he? Like, and I wouldn't think that way. I'd be thinking, what's the best for Arsenal and what's the best for my team.
Let's be real. If he wins the tournament, does anyone care what nationality he is?
No, I don't care what nationality he is. I don't care that he's German. You know what I mean? Like, if you'd have said to me, get Jurgen Klopp, I would have, you know, that would be a great appointment.
Is it more a disappointment that we haven't actually got top class coaches around and we're not trying to do much about it? Is that the kind of a disappointment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think probably it is a little bit, if I'll be honest. That it feels
we haven't,
like
we haven't.
We haven't got very good coaches. We failed. You know what I mean? Like, from that point of view. If you look at the English managers that are about at this moment in time, if Eddie Howe come available, would you want him at Arsenal? Probably not. And again, I'm not having a go at Eddie Howe. I quite like Eddie Howe, but like as I said, would you want Graham Potter manager of Arsenal? No, you wouldn't. Would you want Gareth Southgate manager of Arsenal? No, you wouldn't. Would you want Thomas Tuchel manager of Arsenal? You probably would. So from that point of view, you have to say, yeah, listen, I think Pep's the best manager, out there. Would I want him manager of England? No. On a personal note, no. Would I want, I love Mikel Arteta, but if you said to me, would you want him as manager of England? No. Would I want him manager of Arsenal? Yes. I think one of the greatest, and I think would have done a fantastic job for England, would have been Arsene Wenger. But I didn't want Arsene Wenger being manager of England because he's French. I'd like to have seen him manager of France. I'd like to see Thomas Tuchel manager of Germany, but he wasn't going to get that job for whatever reason. So listen, I think it happens. It's happened in cricket. Listen, bloody hell, in cricket we've got players that are not even English playing for England. You know what I mean? So it's happened around there. I just think that we're a massive nation, and we should. And I think this is what probably we should be producing top English managers. The problem that you've got, but which I think that Thomas Tuchel took away a little bit now, is that I think if you look at the Graham Potters of this world, or even let's take Eddie Howe. If England had come calling for Eddie Howe, I don't think Eddie Howe would have took it. I think he would say, no, I'm happy at Newcastle. It's a bigger club, bigger thing than England. I don't know. But Thomas Tuchel is in his prime. I think that if Man United did get rid of their manager, I think he would be definitely in the frame for that. So I think that if Arsenal were to let go of Mikel for any reason, I think that Thomas Tuchel would be in the frame. So he's in the frame for all the top jobs, I'd imagine, but he chose England. So I think that just shows you how big England is. So, and listen, I think if you was anything about you, and you are a top manager, with the players that you've got available, you must feel that you've got a very, very good chance of winning it. I don't think there's got.
Agreed.
I look at Spain and I think, they're good, but I still think that if we done it right, I think we're better than Spain, and so I think that I think the FA have been very, very wise that when you look at it, the one player I think that. Let us down in the Euros because he's not, but if he'd have been at his top of his game, might have took us to the title, and that was Harry Kane. We played with 10 men at times, but Thomas Tuchel's got the best out of Harry Kane. Now, if you get the best out of Harry Kane for the next couple of years, you're going to go very, very close to winning the tournament. So I see from a footballing point of view. Brilliant. I haven't got, I've heard a lot of people say, because he's German and all that, Kai Havertz is one of my favourite players, you know what I mean? He's German. So I can't go down that route and say that it's not. So I ain't got a problem with it on that side of it all. I've just got the problem that, it should be English, and we're a big enough nation with all what we've got and all the coaches. We should be producing better coaches, and probably on that part we failed. But from a point of view where we're going to get success, I think that we've got more chance of winning the World Cup now than we had 2 years ago or 4 years ago, without a doubt.
Okay, so this is where I'm at. I understand why people want an English coach and a manager, because we're England. I think there's a level of disappointment, the fact we haven't actually produced any top quality coaches. And I'll ask you this. Name me 5 top-class English managers in the last 2 decades. You're struggling. You might have to go back to Sir Alf Ramsey. You might have to go back as far as to Bobby Robson. Maybe you can throw Harry Redknapp into the mix, but you're struggling, is my point. There ain't any that I look at and go, oh, wow. I mean, he could take Arsenal to top levels, or I wish he would have managed Man United after Fergie, because he would have been brilliant for Man United. There ain't many like that, is there? That's why they give it to David Moyes. That's why they've actually gone for Scottish managers ahead of English managers. So I look at it and I understand the disappointment there. So for me, it's like saying, I really want that car, but there ain't one. But I'm just going to wait until that car arrives. Bollocks to the trophies for 5, 10 years. Let's just wait. For me, you have to go and get the best manager. And I think that is the best manager out there right now in terms of CV. Other than Allegri, who's out there with his CV as well, I think Thomas Tuchel actually is better as well for the modern type of football as well. Won the Champions League only 3 years ago with Chelsea. Got a CV that says I can get you across the line. Loved his interview when he said I want to put a star on the chest again. But I will say this, Lee, and here is Mark, my next door neighbour, bless him, in the chat, has said it exactly the same as me. I was asked when I got into this game by quite a few people, why don't you go down the journalist level, Dan? You know, you'd be quite good. And I said, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit in front of a press conference and not say what I feel. That's why I love YouTube and love speaking my opinions, because, you know, you say it how it is, right? That's why I wouldn't be able to go down there. But some Muppet has actually spent years and years trying to get to where he is. And he asks this question: are you going to sing the national anthem? This is actually a real question that has been asked to Thomas Tuchel. I mean, what an absolute pranny this bloke is. Absolute moron. Look, I actually couldn't believe it when he asked it. Is he for real, this geezer? You know, he's actually gone in, he's got himself right at the front, he sat down, he's really excited. What are you going to ask him, John? I ask if you sing that God Save the King. Nothing about it. The tactics, the captaincy, how excited he is, how he sees a style of play, anyone he's excited in working with. Nothing. Are you going to sing our national anthem? Absolute nutcase. But that's what you get, man. Look, I understand why there's some that are doubting it and some that don't believe that he's as great as what people think. Deji was saying he wasn't actually a big fan of it. But I do think he's got the credentials, man. And that's what I'm looking at. And I think he is the most exciting manager we've had since probably in terms of a hiring, since probably Fabio Capello, because it was similar vibes with him. Didn't work out with him, by the way. But when we signed him, you could actually see and say, look, he's been there and done it. And for me, I think that's what Thomas Tuchel has now got. So, look, I'll say well done to Lee Carsley in the last few games, because if I'm honest with you, the style has actually been better. We have been playing attacking football, bit of a madness against Greece with an experiment that was never going to work. Which is why she was never been given the job. But fair play to him. He's done well with the unders. He's brought through Angel Gomez, who definitely deserves a mention because he's been really good in the last few games. And now we see what Tuchel can do. Harry Kane will be over the moon. I think he's going to remain captain. He scored he scored the most ever goals under Thomas Tuchel? I didn't know that until someone said it today. So he obviously knows Harry Kane well. The bad side is he likes Eric Dyer, Kyle Walker, and Kieran Trippier. That's the only problem. But hopefully we've moved on from those days. So look, I do personally believe there's an opportunity for us to do really well here. And you're right, Lee. There's only Spain and France I look at that's got a top class squad other than England. And I think we're right up there. So I expect Thomas Tuchel to win one of these two tournaments. And I think there should be the pressure to do that as well, Lee. I really do.
Yeah. Listen, I think that, I lost my train of thought there because there's a good question just come in. That was the question. I think someone something in Spain said, I can't remember that, but the name. But he said, look, was Harry Redknapp was the last person to win a trophy in England. I do think that as an Englishman, I do think that's right. With Portsmouth, the last manager to win the league, English manager. Would you know who that is?
Before the Premier League existed, I guess. So, Howard Wilkinson,
Howard Wilkinson is correct. Well done. So when you look at it like that, that's what you're up against. I think that we've had. You mentioned Bobby Robson. I think that you'd have to say that he was a good manager and widely respected. Terry Venables, and other than that, the most successful English manager I think that was said, and he is. Do you know that the most successful English manager is?
Ramsey, Robson.
So so a lot of people won't remember it because it was a long while ago, but it was Bob Paisley.
Paisley. Sorry, I should have got that. Should have got that.
So that just shows you how long ago that is.
What I mean, when I said to you, I could name some elite managers that are English in the last 2 decades, you can go further back than that.
Yeah, it's a long time. Even when Then, of course, the George Graham come. I believe that he was Scottish. Alex Ferguson Scottish, and then David Moyes was the good manager, Scottish. Like Bill Shankly, Scottish. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of really like the English manager, probably like elite. We would, you can name on one hand. Brian Clough would have to come into that category, of course, with 2 European Cups. But you'd have to say name 5 English managers. You would say that can rub shoulders with the guys we've just met or just mentioned. There ain't that many, and as you say, you look at Arsenal now, a Spanish manager, Manchester United Dutch, Man City Spanish, Liverpool gone Dutch now, haven't they? Before that, there was German. Tottenham have even gone down the Australian way of thinking. But I do believe that in the top sort of 6 managers, like big 6 clubs, you had a little spell with Graham Potter and Harry Redknapp. Tottenham. No, none of the big teams are picking English managers, and the last one to do it was Chelsea, and it didn't last very long, did it? You look at the up and coming young managers that you thought might do a little bit of good. Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney. None of them have really hit the heights of what you expected them to do, Dan. If I'll be honest, I thought that I don't really think that they've had enough chances. But Steven Gerrard done fantastically well at Rangers, but then didn't do well at Aston Villa. I feel that Lampard done well at Chelsea for a bit, but it didn't quite. He didn't get the time, I don't think. Funny enough, Tuchel took his place and went on and won the Champions League. So you'd have to say that. And Wayne Rooney's sort of battling hard in the Championship. But it's difficult. It's difficult when you're not being given the opportunities as well. So Eddie Howe is probably the only one that's sort of doing some stuff now at Newcastle. But as we alluded to earlier, I don't think that if Man United, Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, he would be on their shopping list. So it's just a difficult one to go on there, So I don't know why that is. But we just have to see how it goes and back him. I think another thing I just got to quickly say, Lee Carsley knew this was coming, didn't he? Now he's press conferences, you can see, he knew what we didn't know. So, he's done okay, but okay ain't good enough, Dan, is it?
Nah, look, I think okay and doing a job, those days are done. This is an England side that can do very, very well. And if I'm honest with you, I think that although we still have weaknesses, some people might look at the goalkeeper and say it's not a world-class goalkeeper and that the back four is not settled. Some people might say up top, after Harry Kane, it's a worry. But one thing we have got is attacking midfielders and an abundance of them. And we've got to get the balance right in that midfield, because if we do, I think we can really, really destroy some teams, man. I really do. Let's go through some of the injuries that Arsenal have received. Let's not mention Ødegaard because we know he's out previously and it's a few more weeks for him. But instead of talking about them all as a collect, let's just go one by one with what we know and what we think we know. All I care about is the weekend's game now and how many of them are going to be fit. Let's start with Bukayo Saka because he did come off in the England game. Obviously, we saw 50th minute, he comes off. There's a hamstring injury. We don't know if it's a torn hamstring, sprained or strained hamstring, or if it's just a knock. What's your thoughts on this one? Because I actually think that we might see him on the bench against Bournemouth, Lee.
This is a difficult one for me. You know what I mean? I don't really know the injury because I didn't see it because I weren't about. But if it's a hamstring strain and all that, that's minimum 10 days, minimum. So it will be touch and go whether he'll be there, And I think that the question will be, can you, with Liverpool round the corner, Newcastle round the corner, Inter Milan round the corner, and of course then Chelsea before the international break, would you want to risk him against teams like Bournemouth and also Shakhtar Donetsk, or would you like to keep him fresh and ready to go for Liverpool? Personally, I think if there is any sort of doubt, I'd rather leave him out of this one. Listen, every Premier League game's difficult, as you know, but I'd rather him miss Bournemouth away and Shakhtar at home and be available for Liverpool. So, and I think that with Arsenal at this moment in time, they will. I think they won't take any risks on these players. So if he is fit, then fantastic, and he'll play. But if he's not fit, then I wouldn't play against him. But I agree. This game against Bournemouth is if he was to drop points in the game against Bournemouth, you'd be looking at it as a poor point. So we've got to win this game, especially with what we've got coming up. It will be a real travesty if we don't. So, listen, I think that maybe he won't be fit for this one if it's a hamstring strain. That's my personal thing, so I don't think he'll be available for Saturday. Maybe looking to getting ready for Liverpool next week, the week after, which I think he'll probably be more likely to be available for.
I think that'd be wise. I think it would be wise to say to him, look, just keep this one out. I know you want to play. We need you for Liverpool, and get him as fit as we can, or as best as he can be for that game. Because what I don't want to do is him to play a little bit, and he goes, "Yeah, sorry, we shouldn't have brought him back that soon, really." And
exactly.
It's a stupid thing to do, especially when we got players there. And that's my next question: if there's no Saka, who plays right wing to you? Sorry, you might have said it when I was like, quickly answer. Say
no. For me, I'm playing Jesus.
Okay.
I'm playing Jesus there. I think that he's played out there for us before. Played up there against Man City at home last season. We didn't have Saka, if you remember rightly, beat them 1-0. But I also think that he needs to play. And I think when he's playing in that centre forward role, I think he's too busy about getting goals. I'm thinking to myself, this could be a good thing for him now, where you can say, look, you're playing wide. It ain't necessarily the being then all to score goals in there, but just do the business there, create and do whatever. So for me, and I'm just hoping that he, just does the business. He has been poor. I agree with that, but he's had another couple of weeks training without the rigmarole of playing like Premier League football. So I think it will be hopefully better for him. So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing who would be that. Someone's got to step up and do the business, whether it be Sterling or Sterling hasn't looked, to be honest. If you're going to be really honest about it, Jesus has been not great, and nor has Sterling, to be honest. But one of them two, they're top players on top money. One of them has got to step up.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I'm going to actually say that I think it's going to be Sterling. The reason I say Sterling is because ain't that what we bought him for? He's Saka cover, Nelson's sold, Sterling's there. Now, look, I agree with you. I think Jesus is actually better on the wide areas. I really do. And I probably would look to go there. But out of the two, Sterling's the one that's probably disappointed me less. I think Sterling, although it's not quite come off for him, he's actually tried and been threatening when he's gone forward. Jesus, I just don't really see that I've seen enough, Lee. Look, maybe it's the opposite way, and you say, well, now you prove that, you prove your point. At the moment, you're disappointing, but that doesn't mean that there's an opportunity for you to not to be in with a shout. But I just feel like Sterling's kind of the Saka cover. Saka's out. He comes in. Jesus comes on and tries to fight for his place. There is actually another opportunity for us, and that's Ethan Nwaneri. Could he potentially come in on the right-hand side and play on the right wing? I don't know if that's an option. Well, it's an option, but I don't know if Arteta would do that. I think he'd look for Sterling or Jesus ahead of Nwaneri. But it'll be interesting to see what one he goes with, Lee, because, for me, it will show us where, he sees the backup for Saka, who he sees as the backup for Saka. Saying all this, Saka will probably be fine and he'll start now. But, this is what happens. But it's a good thing to have, isn't it? It's a good thing for us not to know, because it means we've got options, Lee. Do you know what I mean? It's not scraping the barrel,
No, exactly. I think if Sterling was to play out there, I wouldn't be disappointed. If Jesus plays out there, wouldn't be just as a point. But if Wanyeri was playing out there, I'd be excited. I have to say that, but I think that whoever he plays out there, whether it be, I think someone just said in the chat, I can't remember who it was, just said that they might both have to play if Martinelli's not fit, and I think that could be the case. I think it could be the case of both of them playing. I think that if there is a doubt about Martinelli, for me, he's another one that doesn't play. I think with Martinelli a little bit different because if it was a serious one, I think they'd have had him back home a lot earlier than what they did. They seem to have kept him out there, so I don't know if it was a big issue or whatever. I don't know. You'd certainly get him home a little bit quicker if he was injured. But so I think that listen, I think over these next 2 or 3 games, Dan, really or on this next bulk of games until the international duty, the starting 11 is going to be very, very interesting to see where they go down. Are they going to make changes? Who are they going to rest? When are they going to make certain changes? So again, Declan Rice has played virtually all the games, so he's going to need a rest at some stage. So interesting where that does happen. But I think if I'm a betting man, it's going to be either Jesus or Sterling that's going to be on that side of the field.
Well, look, I actually think we might line up with Jesus and Sterling either side of Trossard with Havertz up top, because if Saka and Martinelli are back, I don't expect both of them to start.
No,
that's for sure. And if one of them does start, then fair play. But it might be that they both just on the bench and they both come on. And we actually imagine that, having Saka and Martinelli to bring on, that would be pretty good, wouldn't it? So Sterling and Jesus could start. We've done it before, obviously, and hopefully we can do. Well, actually, he didn't do it before, did he? Because Saka did start, but you get my point. He's made changes before, so it could be that we play Jesus right, Sterling left, and then you have Saka and Martinelli. The other option, of course, is if Martinelli's out, then Havertz stays up top. We have Trossard on the left. Ethan Wanyeri comes in the middle, and then Sterling goes out on the right. We could have that potentially. That could be an option. Right, that could well happen. What I don't want, Lee, and I really, really don't want to see, which I fear that we might, is we have Jesus up top, Havertz behind, and then we have Trossard and potentially Sterling on the wings. That's the one I don't want to see. Because Havertz in midfield, it don't work. He's got to be in the 9.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Especially if you've got the 2 wide players out. Havertz has got to start up front. He's got to, So I think that even last week, if Mikel looked at that, the last game against that, as soon as he went up front, look how much better we were. I know he scored his goal from that midfield role, but was he? I think he was in the position because him and Trossard were swapping around. I don't like all that swapping around and all that. Play him up top and get the job done. And it also, I think with Havertz being up top, it helps the 2 wide players as well because he brings them into play and all things like that. So I'm with you on that. That's the one thing I don't want to see. I want to see Havertz up top doing what he's done for most of this season, and certainly in the latter part of the Southampton game when we was much, much better, him up front and doing the business.
Yeah, facts. Absolutely. Look, I don't think Martinelli's is as bad as what people are making out. Some people have said that he's felt something, he's gone back, and hopefully we can see both of them. If they're not going to be against Bournemouth and Shakhtar, they're both definitely okay for the Liverpool game, which everyone's so looking forward to. I mean, we shouldn't jump ahead, Lee, because Bournemouth and Shakhtar Donetsk ain't going to be a walk in the park. But certainly it's the next, bigger game that we're going to be playing. But for me, Bournemouth, great coach, Iriola, top level coach, good players. Evan Nilsson starting to get into the mix. The menu, I think, has been an unbelievable signing for them, considering he was bought, over from the Championship. I look at what, threats we can have, and potentially there's going to be quite a chance that Bournemouth have got. Going to be a tough test for us. I look at them. I feel they're unpredictable. I think that they can turn it on and off whenever they want. I think they're actually quite respected. I think they've done well without Dominic Solanke. A lot of people have said that that was going to be a big blow for them. I think the biggest compliment you can give them is that no one's speaking about it because they're still scoring goals and they're still playing well. So I think we have to be careful about that. But I wanted to come to you still on Arsenal about these injuries because it does seem that Arsenal have been potentially screwed by them. Doesn't look like, any issues with anybody else, touch wood, at the moment. I know we've got still something to play or whatever. But Tomiyasu, mate, I don't get it, if I'm honest with you. I've got a stat for you here that I'm going to read out that I read out on my show. Kieran Tierney is a player that everybody wants to get rid of because he's injury prone and he's not seen in the system. He is injury prone, and it wouldn't surprise me if he goes back to Celtic in January. He's missed 284 days for Arsenal. 284 days, which is a lot, to be fair. It's a lot for Kieran Tierney. Tomiyasu has missed 336. But no one talks about him. Kieran Tierney is absolutely amazing injury-wise compared to Tomiyasu, but no one's talking about it. 336 days is not goodly. I looked at his record at Bologna, and he was injured every year for at least a month for Bologna, every year, which is why Igal said last night on my channel that we got him for 12 million, because they said we think this guy might be injury prone. So we didn't buy Kim Kallstrom, but we bought someone who was injury prone, that's for sure. I didn't know he was that injured that much for Bologna. In his first season, it's the only time that he's managed to string a number of games together. He actually hasn't played that much since his first season, which was the first few months of the season. He got bad injuries. He got injured in Sporting Lisbon game alongside Saliba, if you remember, in our title challenge. Since then, he's never really come back and played more than 5 games. And I wouldn't mind so much if it was like, oh, poor lad, so unlucky. But it's the same injury since 2017. It's knees, hamstrings, knees, ankles, hamstrings, calves. It's all muscle-related stuff. And he played 6 minutes against Southampton. 6, not 60. 6. And he's got injured, and it's potentially another month out. I like Tomiyasu. I'll finish by saying this. I think aerially he's one of the best we've got. One-on-one defending, one of the best we got. Versatile, right, left, centre-back. But it really is time to say goodbye in January or the summer now. This is no point having somebody that has got absolutely no chance of staying fit. And they say it, don't they? The best ability is availability, and he isn't available enough, man.
No, I agree. I think that, and also you have to look at it, Dan, is that he's not playing week in, week out. He's a squad player, so he comes in for 3 or 4 games, and then he's, and you think, right, just as he's starting to nail down a play, because he is a good defender. Let's get this right. He's out again, and another injury. Like, listen, this can happen. Yeah, you can get a recurrence of a knee injury and all that, but you think that they wouldn't have rushed him back. Because there was no need to rush him back. So, they'd have done all the rehab stuff and everything like that. And it's a breakdown again. He's a big worry for me. And it's not so much that when he's not available, it means then that other players can't rest while, he's there. So, for instance, now, either Timber or Ben White, if both are fit, and they've been carrying, as we know, means that one of them's got to play against Preston. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't want that. These are the games when you don't. And so you're having to play like, you could say, for instance, Tomiyasu could be playing against Shakhtar, and you both fullbacks can have a nice rest before the big game against Liverpool. So you're stretching the squad, and you're making players play more than what you want them to do, because he's not fit all the time. Another month. And I'm not being horrible. If it is another month, it's another month of a massive season for part of the season for us, when we've got massive games. When you look at the games, he's going to be needed. It's going to be needed, and he's not going to be available, and that's putting a strain on the other players in the squad as well. And I don't think that can continue, in my opinion. Can't continue.
Yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame.
Yeah.
Zinchenko's another one. Need to get rid of him. He's never fit. He's out again. No news on him. Just no news at all. Just he's out still. Kieran Tierney, just all our fullbacks. We might actually end up going into the summer league needing another bloody fullback at this rate. And it's unbelievable. Kenny said last night he still thinks we need another left back because he's not sold on Timber or Calafiori there. Well, personally, I disagree with that. I quite like them, but fair play. If we're going to be getting rid of Tomiyasu, Tierney, and Zinchenko, then we are going to need another fullback. So it's it's mad that we can't seem to catch a break with these fullbacks getting injured. Timber, likewise, another one. You know, another one who was out for it with an ACL. That one was unlucky. We hope he doesn't get another injury. Ben White at the moment, he's not 100% fit. I don't know with injuries in Arsenal. You know, a lot of people have said it's a training ground. It's just unlucky. It's just bad luck. Do you put it down to that? I mean, is it coincidental? Is there something going on we don't know about? I mean, it's been happening for about a decade now, Lee.
Yeah, listen, our injury record over the last few years hasn't been too bad, and you can't blame the one on Timber was always going to happen. Once you've had a serious injury, he's always going to get these little injuries and little niggles, and I think we all expected that. That's maybe why Calafiori's come in, because you know he's going to need that sort of time. You know, it's no coincidence with Timber that he's played 2 or 3 games and he's injured again. Like nothing major, just a strain or whatever. But like you're saying, you know, like it's a strain with Saka. Well, it's the same strain with him, and he's not been about for the last couple of weeks. So, you know, hopefully he can come back and he'll probably go 3 or 4 games and play again. Ben White's always shown that durability. To be fair, you know. Maybe a little bit of luck that he is injured at this moment in time. We've got enough cover there. But I think now, with these games coming up, Ben White hopefully will be available now and back in training, because I think he's going to be needed. Shinchenko's another one for me now, always out, another calf strain, which has kept him out for a good part of the season last season, definitely in pre-season, which he missed. So he needs to be back by in this international break as well, like, you know, otherwise, you know, what's the point? So it is a bit of a worry. Kieran Tierney, I the last time I heard he was back in training, but it doesn't seem like he's part of the plans. But I'll tell you what, if you're paying his wages, Dan, and he's available, I'd rather see him getting some sort of minutes than not. So we'll have to see how that goes. But
the thing is with Tierney as well is people make out like he's some old man with a walking stick, and if you put him in, he's a shambles. You might as well play a League Two player. Kieran Tierney's a good defender. He's an international, plays for Scotland. He's got brilliant attitude, superb professionalism, and if it weren't for his injury record, he'd be a phenomenal player for someone in the Premier League. If, you know, went Newcastle or West Ham, he'd be absolutely brilliant for them. He'd be top level, one of their best players. So I think people make out like Kieran Tierney's an absolute finished player. Do you know what I mean? There's you know, for me, there's a player that's still 27 years old. Or is he 28 now? So look, if he's got anything in him, then obviously look, I actually agree with Simon. I think Harto is the one that we're probably looking at. Laurel Harto from Ajax is the 18, 19-year-old lad that we're interested in that can play left centre-back and left back. Obviously, Calafiori's just come in as well. So we have got players there. It's not like we're short. Kirkez is another one that talked about, funnily enough, at Bournemouth. I think he's a very, very good left-back, one that's definitely impressed me. But look, we're in October. We can't do much about that. I am going to ask you quickly in a minute about January. But before we do that, wanted to ask you about the kind of potential for the Bournemouth game and how you see it going, and if you think it will be a tough game.
Well, yeah, I do think it'd be a tough game. I don't think it'd be an easy game. You know, away from home, it's going to be tough. But back from international duty, I'd imagine that most of their teams not on international duty. Probably 3 or 4 of them are, and a couple in the under 21s or whatever. But they're certainly going to be a team to worry about. Even though we beat them comfortably last season, there was a stage of that game where it was touch and go. So we're going to have to get on the ball and play our stuff and take our chances. I think it'd be a difficult game. Listen, I expect us to win it, but if we was to drop points here, it wouldn't be a shock. So I think that we've got to be on our game. I think this is a massive game for us, because with what we've got coming up, we cannot afford to drop points against Bournemouth. It's as simple as that. We have to win this game. So the pressure's on. And it's going to be a difficult game for us. And Mikel has got to get that team spot on. Got to get it spot on. They've got to get it right. And as I said, I don't think there's issues in midfield. I think one of the good things about this international break is that Marino's had sort of some minutes under his belt without the pressure of Arsenal. So he should be a little bit more up to match fitness now. That's a good plus for us. So it'd be interesting what midfield that he plays with. Does Marino come straight in, or I'd like to see him play before Liverpool, to make a judgment on that. So it may be that Thomas Partey plays in one and Rice plays in the other, and then Mourinho comes in. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what they do there. But I do expect it to be a tough game. And but I do expect Arsenal to win this game. I'd be very, very disappointed if they don't.
Well, let me ask you on this game, team news-wise. We know about the front three and the options there, but there's also options in midfield and at the back, mate. And I personally, I'll say it, I like Calafiori. I do. I have question marks over his positioning at times, and I think that's something he needs to work on. I would go with White and Timber as my fullbacks, with Gabriel and Saliba, and I would play Partey, Rice, and Trossard as my three. Yeah, I've got that right. What would you do?
That's exactly the midfield that I'll play. Partey, Rice, and Trossard. If the players are fit up front, to a certain degree. Like I said, I would if they're injured, then I'll go Sterling, Havertz, and Jesus. That'll be like if there's any doubts on those two. I'm with you on that. Ben White, Saliba, and Gabriel, but I would play Calafiori in there.
So you'd rest Timber.
Yeah, I'd want him available, fit and available for Liverpool, like, you know. So maybe play him on the Tuesday in a home game where it's not as going to be as intense. I think defending wise is going to be intense on Saturday, and then I would play him at left back against Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, someone's made a good point in the chat about Calafiori actually helping Martinelli's game, and I do agree with that. I think Martinelli's played better since Calafiori's come into the team. The problem we've got is we've been conceding goals with Calafiori in the team. And it's not just because of Calafiori. I'm not saying
I know what you're saying.
I'm saying we've changed things at the back, and now we're conceding goals against Leicester and Southampton, whereas we were keeping clean sheets against Spurs and Aston Villa. Do you know what I mean? So I think that we need to look at that seriously, and I do believe our best back four at the moment is Ben White right back and Timber left back with Gabriel and Saliba. That's what I think is the best. I agree with you, and I think that we should play that against Liverpool as well. I just don't know that Mikel Arteta is on the same lines as us here, Lee. I think Mikel Arteta is going to play Timber and Calafiori, and Ben White's going to be a sub. And I think he's going to play, potentially, if we've got injuries up top, I think Havertz is going to drop into midfield. So I think we could actually see this Bournemouth team as, oh my God, Reyes in goal, cool. He's got Timber and Calafiori playing fullback with Gabriel and Saliba, still no Ben White. He's got Partey, Rice and Trossard. Partey, Rice and Havertz. And then he's got Trossard with Jesus up top, potentially Sterling or Saka if he's fit on the right. That's what I think we might set up like, Lee.
Yeah, he could do. And you know, listen, if he does that and he gets away with it, then great. But if he don't, it'll be a difficult one, like, you know. So, listen, you can't take Bournemouth lightly, so you can't take liberties in there. And I don't think that he should take liberties, but it could well happen. I'm hoping that you know that Mikel goes down the route that we've said, but listen, he's the manager and he'll make those decisions. I'm desperate to see Havertz as the front man. I really am. I don't want to see him in that midfield role, like, you know. And if the two wide players are out and he wants to go Trossard, I get that. Then bring in Wanyeri or play Declan Rice and Mourinho and Thomas Partey. Play that free. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't going to be as creative, but, like, you know, we're going to have a lot of the ball. So I wouldn't be averse to playing like Thomas Partey holding and then two players box to box instead of going with the sort of creative midfielder in there. Like, you know, I prefer that than Havertz dropping in there, if I'll be honest. That's how I see it.
Facts. Look, I want to close on asking you about the midfield because I actually think there's quite a lot we can do with it. And it's an area that I think needs looking at, and I think it might need a couple of players in there in the coming windows. But right now, we've got Jorginho and Partey that look to be our definite sixes. We've got Rice and Marino that can play in the 8, but Rice can also start in the 6, where I prefer him. We've proven, funnily enough, that Ethan Wanyeri is ready and Trossard can cover for Ødegaard as well. So we've kind of got 2 or 3 players in each of those positions, in the 6, in the 8 and in the 10. How does Mourinho fit into this midfield for you, Lee, moving forward?
Good question. I'm not convinced about Mourinho because I've not seen him. And that what I've seen of him, I liked him. So I want to see him be playing a couple of games. Now, if he doesn't play against Bournemouth, I want to see him play against Shakhtar on the Tuesday night and see what he's actually all about 90 minutes before making a judgment for Liverpool. But the one thing that excites me or encourages me about our midfield at the moment, if he leaves Thomas Partey out, I'm not bothered. If he leaves Declan Rice out, I'm not bothered. If he leaves Mourinho out, I'm not bothered because the gap between those players isn't a lot, But you could turn around and go, it's Rice and Mourinho. I could go, it's Thomas Partey and Rice. Someone else can say it's Jorginho and Rice or whatever. I think that there's not a big gap in there, and I will say this: our big games, Jorginho's come in and hasn't let us down. Tottenham away this season, come in and done a job at Man City, done a job last season as well. So I've got no problems with Jorginho coming into these games as well. But Thomas Partey hasn't played for a couple of weeks, nor has Jorginho, as we know. But I think at the end of it, I can actually see him doing this, playing Thomas Partey in one game and Rice, and then leaving one of them out for the Tuesday night game to bring in Mourinho. So, for instance, they're both playing this one, and then on Tuesday night, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give Thomas Partey a rest, bring in Mourinho, and we should still be strong enough in midfield with Rice doing a holding role, or even Jorginho doing a holding role, and Jorginho and Mourinho, and I don't know. I haven't got an issue with those ones there, what I mean? But it'd be interesting to see what he does with Mourinho over the next few games. If he's good as what everybody's saying it is, and whatever, then fantastic. But what I've seen of him so far, I've liked. He's now fully fit because obviously he's been training and he's got some minutes under his belt. We'll have to see what happens now, whether he's going to bring him in or not. And this to be the interesting thing. Would you play him in against Bournemouth or not? You sort of went Thomas Partey.
I think Mourinho comes in for Shakhtar.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah,
because
I've got to say this. I think Thomas Partey's been our best midfielder this season.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think Man City, he was phenomenal when we went down to 10. I thought he was one of our best players against PSG. I think he's been fairly consistent. I actually feel, touch wood, I'm surprised how he hasn't got injured already because he's played a lot more games than I thought he was ever going to at the start of the season. I honestly I earmarked 15 games this season for Partey. Let's hope he plays more than that now because he's played about 7 already. So I hope personally that he can do that. I really thought we were going to wrap him more in cotton wool, but he's clearly shown he's capable at the moment. And Jorginho's there as well, who I still think is a good player, by the way. He's a really good player to have in the squad of Jorginho. He's a good player to have. He's reliable. Yeah, he's not got the legs, but he slows things down. But sometimes you need that in games. I don't think you should be starting him in every game. But sometimes he's the perfect sub to bring on. You're 2-0 up. You bring on Jorginho just to keep things steady and pass it around, get the balance in the midfield right. I think it's a great option as well. So, look, we are fairly strong in midfield. I don't think there's many Premier League sides that look at that 6th position and go, wow, Arsenal got Jorginho, Partey and Rice. I'll take one of them. They got 3 of them. You look at Liverpool, we're about to put Gravenberch there, who's fantastic, by the way, he's been. But you look at that, they ain't really got anyone else after that, have they? They've got Endo, and then they might have played Jones there or something like that. We've actually got Rice, Partey and Jorginho. You can say that about most of the clubs, Spurs, Newcastle as well. They'd all take one of those. They'd take Partey or Jorginho tomorrow, most of those. So I think we need to recognise how strong we still are in that position, I've got to say. Look, Lee, we might as well go to some predictions. I know it's a bit early and we're on Wednesday, but we're probably do another bit of content in relation to it. But I might as well get your prediction while we're here. What are you saying? Go on, bro. 2-0 Arsenal. Because I do feel that I think that it should be quite a comfortable victory. Away from home, we're good defensively, and I do think that in the middle of the park we can dominate. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. I think they might. I think we might concede, but I do think we'll win, and I think that we'll win quite comfortably because I think we should be. Bournemouth have not been phenomenal so far this season. I think they're still trying to find their way with a couple of new players. I think they will get it right because Iriola's a top manager, and I have Bournemouth floating around 12th, 13th still this season. I don't see them being in any form of struggle of relegation. I don't see them, unfortunately for them, going for European competitions, but I do think they've got an opportunity to do really well. So that's where I'm at. Listen, before we close, we've got a football prizes, mate. This one's a little bit special, Lee. I've got to say, this one's come out. It's phenomenal.
Do you know what this one is? I put on the thing today, like on Twitter, like, you know, it got to be two of the favourite Arsenal players. You know, I'm not saying the best, but your favourite. We know we're doing the show, aren't we, about the favourite one? We put that one back because of all
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah,
but you know, like these two would be on your list as as your favourites, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you know, Jack Wilshere and Thomas Rosicky. I have to say, you know, Wilshere, I think, well, can I say both of them? We're talking about injuries. If it weren't for injuries, I think both of them could have been legends of Arsenal. And, you know, you could actually say that Jack probably is at this moment in time. But Jack Wilshere and Rosicky, framed double shirt, you know what I mean, on display. That's unbelievable. And you can get, you know, just for a consolation prize, a Dennis Bergkamp or a Robert Perez shirt, like, no, not bad consolation prizes. They ain't like, no, but in a framed, like both of these in a frame. Well, I think it's an unbelievable prize. So for $3.95, they've done it again. Football prizes, they've done it again. £3.95 for
unbelievable.
That.
I mean, I must say, like Bergkamp, Perez, Rosicky, Wilshere. I mean, there's no Arsenal fan that does not like any of those players.
No,
for $3.95, you've got to get in it, man. $3.95. Competition ends on Monday, the 21st. So make sure you go to footballprizes.co.uk and put yourself in for this one. This is phenomenal, and there's so many on there as well. So please make sure you go support the sponsors.
Yeah, and I've got to say, you've got to get in quick because you know that the Mikel Arteta one sold out before. That sold out way early, like, you know what I mean. And the Patrick Vieira and Gilberto one was sold out before as well. And I'm guaranteeing that this one will be sold out as well, like, you know. So
it will be.
Get on it quickly, like, you know, for $3.95, a chance to win that. And if you do win it, let us know. You know, we've had
Daniel did. We had one winner. Daniel won on this channel, so let's make sure we get another winner. Let's try and get right. If we can get 3 winners this season on this channel, that'd be amazing. We've already got amazing. One. Let's get 2 more people.
If we can get another couple, that'd be fantastic, like, you know.
Yeah, it would, 100%. Look, we are going to do our favourite 11 show. It's either going to be tomorrow or the next day. Me and Lee will have to sort a date. We will promote it up here, so we will be putting that out because I'm really interested. Because I don't know what Lee's is either, and he don't know what mine is. So we'll keep that a secret. We'll work that out, and it'll be our favourite 1 to 11 of Arsenal players. Not the best players, our favourite players, ones that are outside the box, not Henry's, Bergkamps, all these guys that everyone loves. We're clearly the best players. We're going to do our favourite players that we had growing up, or whether it be, you know, watching the Arsenal. So there we go. Could be current players. Some could be current players. Who knows? But big up to you, Lee. I'll let you have the last word. Oh, stay tuned as well because you're going to be redirected to myself and James B from AFTV. Me and James are going to be talking on my channel in literally 3 minutes' time. So please don't go anywhere. It will redirect you straight to my channel. Lee, I'll let you say bye to the channel.
Listen, yeah, get yourselves over there. James is a good guy, all these stats and everything like that. And I'll tell you what, with James, does come out with some interesting points. So stay tuned to that. But also, listen, enjoy Thursday, Friday, because Saturday is football day. It's Arsenal day. Pressure back on. And when we play in the league, the pressure is on every single game. So enjoy these next couple of days because you'll be looking forward to the international break come November, I'm sure. Enjoy.